Okay, so now what we are going to do here is translations. Okay, and we are going to begin with dynamic natting. Okay, so dynamic natting is in the nature, it's one-to-one dynamic translation, right? Okay, you will have one private IP or one real IP which will dynamically be translated to a mapped IP from the pool. Okay, so for this, so if you are working on this topology, what you need is one of the requirement would be you will need a pool of IP address over here on the outgoing interface, right? So that's one of the element what you need. Then another element what you need is like who is the real user or what are the real networks or IP addresses. Okay, so let's say for example, if you want your client here to be able to go out and access internet. Okay, so what's the real IP in this case? The real IP becomes, so this becomes your real subnet, which while going out should get mapped to this subnet. So this will be your IP pool of mapped IP addresses. Okay, and then two more things what you need to define is from where the traffic is going to come and where the traffic is going to go. Okay, so when it is going to come here, it's going to come to, now what you need to know is, okay, just give me a minute. We had done some portion over here, so let me just draw it out. Let me put it in red here. So at this place and again at this place. Okay, so what we have done here is at this place we have configured, we have redundant interface 1.11 and we have another interface which is redundant interface which is 1.12. We have created these here. Let me try to accommodate this. Okay, and this one is 10.1.1.254 and redundant 1.12. this one is 192.168.1.254. okay, then at this place again here what we have done here is at this place we have created another interface which is your redundant 2 and this one is 1111/24. okay, okay, this is good. Let me save this. Okay, now so we'll be working on this topology here. Under this what we are going to do is four things what I mentioned. So let me write it down over here. So you need real IP, you need to know what will be the mapped IP. Okay, and then you need to know two more things, the source zone or source interface, okay, and your exit interface, destination zone. At least four things required. Okay, now how do you write this rule? Okay, how do you write this rule? So let's say if you want to translate this subnet, for example 192.168, what you're going to do is you're going to create an object for this one of the object. Okay, this object is basically real IP or when it is going to internet, it should get translated to some public IP, for which you are going to create another object of mapped IP. This is another object. Let's say this is object number 2. So you'll give some public IP. Let's say, for example, 111.51 till 111.53. Done. Now you need to know about real or. Now this should be the zone from where the packet is actually received. So when this packet is coming, when the packet comes from here, it will come to which interface? It will come to this interface. This interface is named as production, right? So if we get back to the console here, redundant 1.12 is what? Production. Right? Okay. Then what will be the exit interface? Exit interface will be, right? Destination interface will be redundant 2 when you're going to internet, isn't? Okay. So your real source zone, and then you need to know so in this case your real zone becomes, and the mapped zone becomes okay. So a simple rule would be something like this. You would say object network it's 1, right? Yeah, 1.0, and you would say description. Just I'll come back to this one. Let me just configure this once. And some, you need to define a pool, but we did not define it. What I might do is give a single IP here. Okay, so you can check it by saying show running object. Okay, you may say show running object. Okay, and show running NAT for checking your translation route. This is important to me. Okay, so what do you write? Object network, give some name, and this is the statement NAT production outside dynamic, and give some mapped IP. Okay, so object network, you have to give some name.
Network is a keyword, right?
I'll explain that. Just give me a minute. Production, maybe 192.168.1.0. Okay, under this you have to define, you define as subnet, let's say 192.168.1.0, and then you give a NAT rule. And here you might write down the IP pool. Okay, maybe say now this is an object. this is an object, and you create this object separately like this: object network mapped dash IP dash pool. And under this you define
range.
Do you get this? Why did I write this? I've written this to show you something. Okay, now look at these portions, whatever I'm going to mark. Okay, so what do I use? Okay, let me use this. Okay, now this portion here is a name of the object. Okay, so what you need to know is real subnet, which is here. Then you need to know for which you need another object which you create here, this portion. Done. Then you need to know what? You need to know when any packet is coming from your subnet here, it is going to come to which interface? This interface of the firewall. So which is here? If the packet comes to production interface and the source of the packet happens to be this subnet, which is given here, then the destination happens to be in this segment, which is outside. In that case, what do I do? Use a dynamic translation. In dynamic translation, you refer to
Object
this object which contains 3 IP addresses. So translate one IP address from this subnet to one IP of this pool, okay, and dispatch it to outside interface, which is written here. So what all values do you need? You need real subnet, you need the real zone, what IP it should get mapped to, and destination zone. Do you get this? So take a note of these 4 values: 1, 2, 3, 4. It's required, it's important. That's why I have done this portion first before doing the translations.
Here in the below one, the object group for public one, can we give subnet as well, or we have to put the range?
You can put subnet also. I have not explained the objects and how do you create objects group. Not that. I just want. Your focus should be on that. You need these 4 values and what those 4 values are. Okay, so I'll just pause this. You people can take down this. Now another thing what you need to know is how the translation or how ASA maintains the table. Okay, now your ASA maintains the translation table. Okay, and the table is divided into 3 sections. So you have section 1, okay, you have section 2 and section 3. Your translation table is divided like this. Okay, there are 2 type of rules what you would be writing. Okay, one is called as object NAT, or also known as auto NAT. Okay, and second one is called as or twice NAT. Do you get this? Good. Now section 1, it contains, okay, before that you need to know what is object NAT or what is manual NAT. Okay, object NAT or manual NAT, object NAT or auto NAT. Okay, when you see NAT keyword, okay, used under an object, okay, it's auto NAT. For example, if you find something like this, object network inside, okay, you find host IP here, and you find a NAT keyword written here. If you find something like this is auto NAT or object NAT. Okay, when you see NAT keyword used in global configuration mode, it's manual NAT. That's how you identify. Do you get this? That's how you identify that whether it's object NAT or it's manual NAT. Okay, your firewall maintains the translation table like this, 3 sections. The first section contains okay, your section 2 contains and your section 3 again contains okay. These rules are referred as, the rule in section 3 are referred as do you get this? The rule what you write in the first section are what? Manual NAT. Whatever rules you write here in this section, those are manual NAT. Whatever rules you write in this section, those are auto NAT. Okay, so how do you identify this? If you find an object and you find a NAT statement written within the object, it is object NAT or it is auto NAT. Do you get this? Okay, whenever you see any NAT statement written in the global configuration mode, not within an object, okay, it's manual NAT. Manual NAT rule or twice NAT rules can belong to 2 separate sections in the translation table. So translation table has 3 sections, and you can find your twice NAT rules either in section 1 or either in section 3. When you find it in section 3, they are typically called as after auto NAT. Makes sense because they are after auto NAT rules. Make sense? Okay, but how you write rules or how you write manual NAT rule for section 3 and section 1 are more or less similar. There's only slight change. That slight change is the keyword. Okay, whenever you are writing rule for section 3, use after auto keyword in the NAT rule. So what do you need to do? In order to make a rule belong to section 3, or if you want to put a rule in section 3, what do you need to do? Write a twice or manual NAT rule, but in the rule use a keyword called after auto. So what I'm trying to tell you is how you write section 1 rule for section 1 and how you write rule for section 3 is same. In the same statement, if you make use of after auto keyword, it belongs to section
3.
If you don't use, it belongs to section
1.
So first you need to know how to identify a twice or a manual NAT, and then you need to know how to identify, because this particular rule can belong to two different sections in the table, how to identify that it is actually going to section 3 or it is actually going to section 1. That differs based on the keyword after auto. Same statement, put a after auto, it goes to section 3. Don't put after auto, it goes to section 1. Do you get this? Okay. Now another thing is writing down the rules or how the rules are processed. So always firewall begin checking the rules right from this section. So it will check in this section. You might have rule number 1, 2, 3. Then in this section also you might have rules, and then again here you might have rules. Firewall process it from top to, so it process everything in section 1, done, go process section 2, done, go and process everything in section 3. Okay, so what you got to do is how to make use of these sections, or why do we have these sections. The most precise rules you put it in this section. Okay, like for subnets where you don't want translations. Okay, the subnets which are VPN subnets, all precise rules put it in this subnet, this section, sorry. Okay, all one-to-one rules put it in, like a static NAT, static PAT, all those you put it in. And most general rules, like anyone going to internet, all those most general rules you prefer to put it in section. The most precise rules, one-to-one rules, policy based rules, put it here. One-to-one rules, put it here, and most general rules, put it here. Okay, like you are going from A, if you are going to C, you should get translated to X subnet. From A, if you are going to B, you should get translated to Y subnet. Put it here. Precise rule. Any VPN subnet going to one of your server, no translation, put it here. One-to-one translation, anyone from internet accessing one of my server X, anyone from internet accessing my another server Y, one-to-one translations, static NAT or static PAT, put those rules. Okay, and finally the most general rule, any subnet from inside going to internet, I don't care, put it here. Okay, most general rules here, most strict rule in section 1. Do you guys get this? Okay, so we are going to configure the rules, different rules, and we'll accordingly put them in different sections in the translation table. Alright, So I hope you people are in a good state to identify the rules, okay, that which rule is manual NAT and which rule is auto NAT. Okay, so I'll stop this here. Next section I'll show you first dynamic NATing and then we'll do dynamic patting.